Welcome to the IonaHoops.com podcast with your host, Guy Flatico.
It's here, folks. For the first time in the history of the IonaHoops.com podcast, here we are, season 4, episode 14. Hashtag Ledge Life wins out. The Gales are just 1-3 in the MAAC after a lost weekend to start off 2024, losing by 12 at St. Peter's and at home at the buzzer to Niagara after blowing a 10-point lead. And here we are. On top of all that, I've been under the weather, in case you can't hear it in my voice, and missed both games. And with the losses mounting, listenership for this podcast is dropping off. So as I said, Ledge Life is winning out here in Gale Nation. So I was going to do an Iota on some Ken Palm numbers, but really it's not worth that effort right now. I'm just going to skip that part. I'm not even going to kick into the music for the recaps, as that musical piece that I use is called Victory of Heroes, and, well, we're short of both victories and heroes right now. So what happened? Well, against SPU, if you listened last week, it really wasn't a shock that we struggled to make shots. SPU is really good on defense. That said, we missed a lot of wide open shots. And then on top of that, a really bad SPU offensive unit made threes early and then strung together baskets enough later in the game to hold us off after we trailed by 22. Yes, 22. This Iona team really just struggles on the offensive end a lot of the time. Lots of wandering around and then waiting for a 3-2 or quickly to create something. But the team has too many guys not looking to score, not able to score. And then on the defensive end, we just don't offer much resistance if we don't turn you over. Against Niagara, here's the offense in a nutshell. The Perps are one of the worst defenses in the country, and there was a play in the latter stages of this one where a Niagara player went down injured, and Iona ran an offensive set of 5-on-4, missed the shot, and didn't even get the rebound. I mean, it was 5-on-4. Anyway, the Gales did have it rolling during the second half at one point. They raced out to a 10-point lead, triggered by the press. You just felt good about the way things were going. And then they gave up a 20-2 run and trailed by 8. 20-2. Hey, they showed great heart against St. Peter's. They showed really good heart yesterday. They came back again. They answered. They came all the way back. Greg Gordon put the Gales back in front in this one really late with 6 seconds to go with a bucket. And then we get what is known on the Iona message board as the reverse Joe Bird special, a buzzer beater against the Gales, as Bayless just went bonkers all day and, of course, was open for 3. And really, was there ever a doubt that was going in? If you're not sure what the reverse Joe Bird special is, it's a buzzer beater, and how Iona just never seems to get them in their favor. And yet, against us, we can recount years and years of teams making buzzer shots against us on a just consistent level. And again, like I said, was there any doubt when he got that 3 off yesterday that it was going in? I mean, as soon as it went to him, it's like we lost. We knew it, and that's just the way it is. And anyway, we sit here 1-3 in the MAAC. Lots and lots of MAAC teams playing at a much higher level than we are right now. So concerns. But where are we this season and moving forward? Well, honestly, it just doesn't seem like this team's going to make that jump we were all expecting. We assumed that we were going to get better as the year went on. We've had spurts. The Colgate game was clearly the high point, pinnacle, the target of what we were hoping to be. And even the late flurry after that against Harvard, I think a lot of Iona fans felt like maybe we were turning that quarter to being that team. But after this weekend, with 2 steps backwards, I can't see it. I hope I'm wrong, but we're more than halfway through the campaign. Oz is back. He's been back for a few games now, and we're just not seeing that maturity and growth. We're just seeing more from quite a few other MAAC teams right now, as I said. I mean, that Fairfield team that we handled at their place hasn't lost since. Think about how long ago the Fairfield game was. The Stags have not lost since that game. And, well, we're just seeing other teams like St. Peter's is 4-0 in the MAAC. Quinnipiac continues to win games, coming back from behind, blowing teams out. And we're just seeing some good stuff from several teams in this league. When you look at it, it just feels like there's going to be at least 5 teams playing better ball than us this year. So it just feels like we're going to be playing on Tuesday night in Atlantic City right now, unless something really changes. But I'm seeing lots of Iona fans on that anti-Tobin movement now. We should have taken longer to make the hire. Trey Arnold 2.0. Jesus. Do people know how hard it is to start a program from scratch? I mean, 0 players, no one who knows your system. I have said all along that a struggle this season was a distinct possibility, and here we are. We can all nitpick stuff and say Tobin should be doing this and should be doing that. It's what fans do at every level, at every sport. It's part of being a fan. I get that. But I believe in Tobin. And I think it takes more than a season to build what you want it to be, and even to build your own culture. Yeah, on paper it looks like we should be a bit better, but when you get all those pieces from different places, different systems, and then mix in a bunch of Frosh, I mean half a team of Frosh, well, here you are. Now I get it. Like I said, there's been a drop in listenership on this podcast, and people are giving me that, oh, God, you can't say anything negative because you need access. First of all, you don't know me to tell me what you think I need, number one. And that's not what this is about. Have you ever been a coach at any level? Do you really think it's that easy to just snap your fingers and win? I mean, if it was, everybody would win. Just because our name says Iona on the front doesn't mean we're supposed to win by some basketball degree or just by law. I mean, you guys are just so spoiled that it's so frustrating to just hear the voices like as if we've been struggling for 20 years as a program or something, or on the flip side, well, we've won for years, so we should continue to win. But I guess that's how sports fans are. Am I better than all of you? No, but I can be objective, and which is in contrast to the whole, I'm only can't say anything negative because I need access. No, I can just be objective. I can look at things from both sides. Most fans can't. I get that. So chill out and realize this is a team, and that it takes time to build a program. Anybody who knows anything about sports realizes you can't just step in and win. It hasn't happened. Tim Cluess didn't do it. Rick Pitino didn't do it. Remember that? Lost to Morgan State his first year by 17 at home. Does everybody remember that or no? You don't just come in and win. It doesn't work that way. But anyway, I'm going to continue to root for these guys. We all know that for all 11 teams, it comes down to that weekend in Atlantic City anyway. We may get better in time to make ourselves a real serious threat by then, or we may not. I just hope we get better and have some drama down there, show some growth. I just want to see the freshmen continue to develop and show signs of becoming good all-around players, because that's what this team really needs. That's what this program really needs. And as for this podcast, like I said, I'm not going to be doing this forever. I may only do it for a couple more years, or maybe a little more than that. I don't know. And if you don't want to stick around for the ride, that's your choice, and it's why you're you and I'm me. And believe me when I tell you this, it's not just me, it's not just you that's frustrated. Tobin Anderson is very frustrated too. And here is the courtesy of Jaden Daly from Daily Dose of Hoops. There is the full press conference with Tobin Anderson after the Niagara loss.
Good. Yep. And credit to Niagara. Great game for them. Great game. They played well. Made some big shots. Made big shots on the stretch. We did some good things, but we got minus 17 on the glass. We got out rebounded, which really hurt us. They missed 20. They missed 25 shots and got 12 of those offensive rebounds. It kills you. I mean, they got half the shots they missed. They got the offensive rebound. We turned over 20 times. Like, we did a lot of good things, but like the fact that they just, it's frustrating. I mean, they came in. I thought we got up by 9. And we just couldn't pull away, and then they got up by, it was a 20-2 run or something like that really put us in bad shape. So credit to them. I mean, they made big shots. Bettis' kid makes a big shot at the end. Obviously, a big shot off an out-of-bounds play again. I don't know how many times that's happened. Out-of-bounds play off of the post kid hit a guy for a 3. Bumblebee hit a 3, and then they hit 3 at the end. So, yeah, I mean, got to keep plugging away. But tough loss, tough way to end the weekend, obviously, but we'll get back to work.
Tobin, they go on the run, you fight back, they take the lead, you get it back with 6 seconds to go, and then the shot at the end. Is that just more frustration than anything? You guys did do some good things down the stretch. What can you take away from this one? Yeah,
it's hard because, we got ourselves down and had to fight so hard to get back into it, and it's it takes a lot of energy. We missed big free throws, we missed layups. They made 3 big threes. It's basketball, right? They made three big threes. We missed shots at the rim. We should make. We missed. Free throws are huge. They shot 24, made 19. And that's a lot. I mean, we made in the game. It's crazy. We made 7 more shots in the game than they did, and we still get beat. They made 19 free throws. We scored. We made. And I'm not complaining the foul calls at all. I mean, they went to the basket. They got fouled. They made free throws. So, Yeah, very, very frustrating. A lot of losing stinks. It just stinks. It just is what it is. But I thought Niagara played very well. Like, they have tough guys. I thought they competed. I thought their energy was great. Greg does a very good job. So, I mean, like, you can mad at all you want to, but a lot of credit goes to them for how well they played. And he kind of messed when they went small. Them going small hurt us because they had guys like Marble and those guys were making plays. Bayless played great off the bounce. That really hurt. They like spread us out a little bit. And we have to guard the ball. We have to defend better. I mean, they shot. I thought the first half we really defended well, and then the second half they shot, I think, 56%. We didn't get stops.
Right had a rough night Friday night. He comes back and goes for 22. How much of an encouraging sign is that for him to bounce back?
But Greg's a really good player. And when he brings energy and that kind of stuff and toughness and lock and he's focused, he's really good. So it's good to see. Good to see.
Coach, John Shima had a 2-pointer tied at 69 all, but do you feel like you need to get more from us? You want more?
I mean, to be honest, more for a lot of guys, right? I mean, Greg gets 24, and Edon gets 22, and it's like, how do you help us when you're not scoring, right? So, I mean, rebounding defensively, making the extra pass, making the extra play, things like that have to be important to us. So, like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys I think we have to get more out of it. I wanted to play our bench more today. That was the plan. But we brought our bench guys in. We got hurt a little bit on the glass. They got hurt a little bit with some defensively. So there's more guys we need more out of. But how do you help us win when you're not making shots? That's a big thing. And so, you know, we like every night you're not going to make shots. So it's like there's other ways you can help us win, and we're not getting a lot of that across the board. You know, but listen, it's a finicky thing, right? If that shot isn't going by Bayless, we're winning. And it was a gritty effort to get back in the game. But in the overall sense of the game, we didn't do enough good things.
With 6 seconds left, is the thought just not to foul the player? Is there any way you tell the players to create an obstacle?
Well, I mean, the kid made a great shot. I would have ideally had a timeout there, and we would have called timeout and not. I haven't seen the play yet, but I thought they got over the top of us. I don't know how it happened. So we'd like to keep things in front there as much as possible. But the reality is they're going to get a shot. They got a pretty tough shot, and the kid makes a shot. You know, so ideally, if we had a timeout, but like you have to use your timeouts because we got behind to kind of get us back in the game. And all of a sudden, you're out of timeouts. You can't make the plays you want to make maybe at the end right there. But I mean, we didn't. You know, kid makes a big shot. I got to watch the play. I haven't seen the play yet.
Sure.
But I had to credit to him. Kid made a big shot. You know, he makes that shot like, you know. Not much you can do.
So it was an interesting flow of the game because there was multiple times where it looked like Iona was about to make a run or starting to make a run, and then it would get slowed down. Then you finally got your run, and you get this 9-point lead, and then they go on a 17-0 run. What happened there?
I mean, I think they called timeout. We got up by 9, and I think our guys were talking in the timeout, and they were like, "Hey, we've been here before. Like, this is a time to really dig in, get stops, and make that 9-point lead out. You get up to 12 or 13 or 14, all of a sudden you're in pretty good shape. We didn't do it.
Right.
We didn't do it. I mean, I got to watch the tape again, but it seemed to me like we got greedy. We shot the ball a little bit early, and they scored they scored every time down at points, right? So it's like, yeah, I mean, that was a big stretch of the game right there. We go from up by 9 to down 7, you know? Frustrating.
On the bench, were you thinking of any adjustment to make on that, or just out of control?
We tried to go small because they went small, you know, and that was probably the thing, you know. So we were trying to, you know. It's
Right.
And listen, it's a game of runs a lot of times, but that run's too big. That's too big of a run. You got to be able to come down the floor and get like you kill teams with patience, right? Not with daggers. We went for the dagger a couple times. Like, just kill them with patience. And I thought, and like, listen, but a credit to them. You can't take away the fact they made big plays, they made big shots. And they made more plays than we did.
One other question, Tobin. It seemed like today that you were attacking the rim all night. Was that part of the plan? Because it wasn't much of a 3-point game. Was that part of a plan, just the way the game developed?
Yeah, I mean, we had 48 points in the paint. It's pretty good. Yeah, I thought we attacked the rim great. Yeah, we'd like to do that, you know. I think that's any team's at their best offensively when you can attack the paint, get the rim, and make teams have to suck in. Then you get your threes off that. So I thought we did a good job. I thought that part was good. They switched all of our screens, which made it tough for us. You know, but I thought we had offensively did some good things, you know. I mean, you can't get out-rebounded by 17, especially because they went small, right? So you say, well, hey, if they go small, maybe they're harder to guard, but at least we'll pound them on the glass, we'll pound them and be more physical. That didn't happen. So that's a frustrating part.
outside of Red and Don, the rest of the team does 9 of 30. How do you get everybody on the same page?
So, Jane, if I had the answer to that question, I would I'd be a millionaire, right? Yeah, I mean, we just got to keep working, right? Guys got to find their flow a little bit. But there's other things. I thought Joel Brown played very well. Like, I don't know how many he scored, but like you could just feel like Joel was constantly. He had 9. But like, here's a guy. He's got 9 points, 4 assists, and no turnovers. You know, he helped us. Like he scored a little bit, but he also got other guys' shots too. And I thought he guarded pretty well too. So he helped us other ways too. So yeah, it's like, you know, sometimes the scoring is out of whack. It depends on who's playing well that night. But you got it. Like, I love guys who fill the box score. You know, guys who can rebound a little bit, get guys shots, do things like that. We're not getting that done right now. We're gonna. If some guys aren't scoring, what else are you doing to help us win? But like this, they're great kids. They're trying hard. We're gonna get better. But you can't. You know, you want to be a contender in this conference to lose at home in the MAAC twice. That's not good. You know, and that's got. You know, we gotta get better.
Do you think the bye on Friday comes in an opportune time?
No. I'd like to play right now if we could. You know, I mean, I'd go. I mean, I feel bad for the whole group because it's gonna be a long week. You know, so it's no. I mean, an 0-2 weekend is not like I'd like to go play as soon as we can. So no, we need to go. We need to play. You know.
Sorry, halftime I was looking at the stats. I was like, that's great. Held them 1-7 from 3, and then the second half they go 7 for 10 from 3. Is this the way the games work out sometimes, or is that something you see?
Yeah, I got to see the tape and see what the threes. I mean, I know the last 3 threes. One was on an out of bounds play with like 9 seconds to go. They went back to the inbounder, which it hurt us a little bit this year. One was on a hit the post guy, skipped it for 3, then the kid hit one at the end. Those 3 were. I don't know where the rest of them came from. One was against our press. I think they pressed through it ahead, hit a 3 there. They seemed to hit the big threes when they had to.
Right.
You know, and that's when you have to they hit a couple threes. Like they shoot the ball from 3 pretty well. We got to finish at the rim. We got to make free throws. You know, it's hard to go 6 for 14 from the free throw line and win games because a lot of those free throws are going to be important free throws, and we just, you know, we didn't make it when we needed to, and that's what it is.
Sorry if you addressed this, but the 17 steals, was that a step forward for the defense and the press?
I mean, I think we turned St. Peter's over 19 times. We turned over these guys 20 times, so that part's good. We gave up some stuff in the press though too, so it's like there's some breakdowns at the back end of the press that has to get better. But I mean, I thought they have good guards and we turned them over, but yeah, I guess that's good. Like that's you're like my wife. Everybody wants a positive spin on things. I'm like, it stinks. It's losing stinks. Like it just does. Like it just you can find a positive in a lot of things, but at the end of the day, there's a scoreboard, and we got beat. And I thought they came in here with a lot of energy, a lot of juice. You know, do they have? I mean, listen, it was a big day for Iona basketball. Big day to retire Jim Valvano's number, name up the rafters, like an awesome thing. Awesome thing for I told the guys we're the carekeepers of this program. We're here because of what Jim Valvano did and the other coaches did, and a lot of great people are back here. It stinks to lose on a day like today. I hate it. It stinks. I mean, it personally bothers me to lose on a day when all those people are back here. I mean, it stinks, you know, and I don't, you know.
Coach, did you follow Jim Valvano when you were a young coach, young player?
Absolutely, yep. But growing up in Iowa, obviously, watching those games back in the day, and actually, he spoke at a clinic I was at when my dad was a high school coach. We used to go to all these coaching clinics. Went to one in Iowa City, was Carver Hawkeye Arena, and he spoke there. They played their tournaments back when big schools go play in big schools tournaments. And he was there, did a clinic. He talked. He was the funniest guy in the world to listen to. It was before obviously he had cancer and stuff, but he was a great speaker, great coach. And just awesome what's happened. In his name since he's been gone, like all this stuff that's happened, to raise money to fight cancer and all that's been going on. It's unbelievable what a privilege it is and an unbelievable responsibility to be at a school where he started this whole tradition and got it going. And I was excited for today for Iona and Iona basketball and all that's happened here. And it was great to see all those people back here. And yeah, just like how I am as a person, like, and it personally bothers me to get beat. I feel it just does. Like especially those, I feel like I'm letting the program down, letting the school down because we have to do our responsibility and find a way to win on a day like today. And that was kind of driven home. We didn't do it. So You know, you talk about a week off where we play like we're going to go right back to work and work harder. That's all you can do, right? There's two options. One, you quit, and two is you go work harder. We're going to work harder. That's all that's going to happen. At some point, it will break through.
Tobin, it feels like these losses. There's been scoring lulls, scoring droughts. What do you think has kind of been behind it? And today there was a 7-minute drought. What do you guys need to do to fix that?
So, all right, everybody's got an identity, correct? Right? Everybody's got a way how they play. Like St. Peter's is going to defend you no matter what happens. They're going to defend. They're going to defend. They're going to be tough. That's their identity, right? Niagara's got great guard play. Their guard's going to make plays and get shots and do things like that, right? What is our identity, right? So it's pretty obvious by now that we're not a great half-court offensive team. So for us, to win games and to win conference games and to have a chance to be in a contender in this conference this year, right? We have to defend and rebound because those droughts are going to happen. Like we don't have a low post scorer besides Greg. Greg's a little bit undersized, so it's like he can't score all the time in there, right? So we don't have a guy who can throw the ball to the post and say, hey, this guy's going to score for us, right? So to counter those droughts, we've got to guard, we got to get loose balls, we got to be tough, we got to be gritty, and you got to do it for 40 minutes because the droughts are going to come. It'd be very, not naive is not the right word, but like it's just going to happen. At some point we're going to have a hard time scoring in any stretch of the game because it's like we're not making shots, we're not a great power team inside, so we got to keep defending. And the fact that they shot 58% in the second half, you can't counter. If they shoot what they shot in the first half, probably win by 10. But we stopped guarding, and when you stop guarding, then the droughts really, that's when it really hurts you because now, you're back. Then especially how we play too with our press, if we can turn teams over, we can get some stuff. Like how do you stop the drought, get a turnover for a steal, get something in transition, things like that, Well, and we did that a little bit, but not during that drought at all. We kind of let them dictate the game.
All right, it's time to finally move ahead now and talk about our upcoming home game against Mount St. Mary's. Speaking of positive voices out there, if you've ever watched a Mount St. Mary's home game, play-by-play guy Adam Pohl is just having a fantastic time doing what he does. So who better to help us preview the Gales' next opponent? We'll bring him in a second, but let me preview the Mountaineers first. The Mount fell to 2-2 in the MAAC with a 6-point loss to St. Peter's yesterday. They picked up a 5-point win at home over Canisius on Friday. You guys know their best player, 6'5" senior guard Dakota LeFew. 17 points per game, 4 boards, 4 assists as well. Good deep ball threat. Just one of the top offensive players in the league for sure. But they also have a couple more of the exciting freshmen in this league. Both are guards. 6'4" Deshane Montgomery is averaging 12.5 points. Just a nice dynamic player. 6'1" guard Dallas Hobbs has really stepped into his role as the point guard. He's at 9.4 points, 3.5 assists a game, shooting 35% from 3. Their front court's a bit of a hodgepodge of guys, all averaging around 6-7 points, 4.5 boards. It's a front court by committee. They look like they go about 9 deep on the whole. Looking at some Ken Palm data, they look like, well, a lot of the MAAC, rating poorly on offense and decent on defense. But hey, we take all these numbers with a grain of salt. Remember when I said St. Peter's is one of the worst offenses in the country statistically? They looked pretty good against us though, didn't they, other than the turnovers? Anyway, statistically, just looking at what Mount does well and versus what they don't do well, both sides of the ball, they make shots, particularly twos. And they're pretty good on the offensive glass, but they're really turnover prone and they don't draw a ton of fouls. It would not shock me it would not shock me in the least for us to force 20 turnovers in this game, but allow them to shoot 50% from the field. It's kind of what they do a lot of the time when they're not playing a team that's pressing all the time. On the other end, they are generally sound defensively, maybe a bit susceptible to offensive boards, and like us, they tend to foul a bit too much. So this is a game where the energy level has to be there. An aggressive press could have a fantastic day. Attacking them will get us free throw attempts, although we have to make them. All in all, we really need to win games in league play because the losses will be coming on the road. If we don't get this one, you may as well book Tuesday night in AC. I fear, I don't know, but if there's such a thing as a must-win game in January, doesn't this kind of feel like one? Anyway, enough on all of that. Let's get a positive vibe here now that I've vented a bit. and welcome in Mount play-by-play man Adam Pohl. So one of the more enjoyable voices in MAAC circles these days is the one that belongs to Mount St. Mary's play-by-play man, Adam Pohl, and he joins us now to take a look ahead to the Mount's upcoming visit to New Rochelle. Adam, thanks for joining the podcast.
Hey, thank you, Guy. Yes, I think it's unique. You know, in my time broadcasting, I kind of understand that now. So I used to get a little bit frustrated when people would be, either say that say that they were, it was a little bit too much, or we're not, golly, who is this guy, that kind of stuff. But the reality is I do for some reason bring out a lot of emotion in viewers and listeners. So there is a little bit of a love or a hate type relationship, but I understand that I'm not wallpaper, if that makes sense.
So Mount is obviously new to us in MAAC circles.
Yeah.
Only a year now starting in our second year, which means you're a new voice for Iona fans. But give us a moment here of your history in covering the Mount.
I've always been a huge college basketball fan. I grew up in the DC area, and I went to a college basketball school. So I went to UNC, Chapel Hill. And for me, I grew up a big Baltimore Orioles fan because I was in the era of no nationals of my age. So the cool thing for me coming back home as a broadcaster was that my career has really been based around minor league baseball. And I don't think I have it anymore, but a few years ago, I could still say that I probably called more Orioles minor league baseball games than anybody in the history of the Orioles organization. But what was great was that my first stop on that, in my career in the Orioles organization was in Frederick. Frederick used to be the high A affiliate of the Baltimore Orioles. And the Frederick Keys are about 20 minutes away from the Mount. Mount St. Mary's is in Frederick County, Maryland. And so one of the Mount's SIDs at that time, he's actually now the head SID for men's basketball at St. Francis, who played Iona this year.
Yep.
Dave Musel, I kind of was all over Dave. It's like, I really want to get involved with the Mount. And, and this was 2007, 2008. And finally, about 14 years ago, when these TV broadcasts started coming in, the Mount really wanted to have a women's basketball broadcast that was at a professional level. So I was hired to do the women. I did the women's games for a few years, and then was kind of brought in to start doing all of the men's games and then a few women's games. And it's kind of evolved back and forth. But right now, I'm basically the men's basketball broadcaster. Do ESPN Plus for home games, and do radio call for road games.
Oh, okay. So I did not know about the radio calls for the road games. So we'll see.
Yeah, so I will be at Iona for a first time next week, because we were not traveling radio last year, and I'm really excited to get to Iona.
Awesome. So we're 4 games into what has already been kind of a strange MAAC season. But Mount St. Mary's is 2-2. The Mountaineers, like the Gales, went into Jersey City, just lost to the unbeaten St. Peter's Peacocks this weekend, although at least the Mount was competitive. Your thoughts on what you've seen early stages of MAAC play and how things are shaping up thus far?
Well, obviously it's wide open. It's usually in a conference. Of course, the Mount's been in the NEC forever, and even the MAAC last year, it felt like there were definable tiers, and you would go into games like, okay, are we playing a team that's a tier below us, or are we playing a team that's a tier above us? And you can kind of have a feel for your season in that regard. It just doesn't feel like that at all, does it, Guy? In the MAAC this year, it feels like the Mount could win any game, and it feels like the Mount could lose any game. And you go into games, it doesn't feel like any game's particularly that much bigger than another right now, because it's it really is so up for grabs. I do think, obviously Siena is off to such a slow start. The Mount had the first big win in the conference over Siena, blowing out the Saints. So it would be a real surprise if Siena became a team that was, a top 3 or top 5 team in the league. But I mean, other than that, there's really not too many holes in the schedule. And St. Peter's was preseason 10, and here they are, 4-0 leading the league. Marist, another school, they were dead last in the league last year, went to the finals, and they've gotten off to a really good start, although they did lose on Sunday. So I think that for Mount St. Mary's, we're still in a mode of trying to establish the program, what we're going to be in this league. The Mount wants to be a winning program year in and year out in the MAAC. And I know that's not easy to do. You really look at the MAAC over the last 15 years or so, and there's basically Iona, Siena, and Ryder have been winning programs. So this is going to be really, really interesting to see, because for Mount St. Mary's in the NEC, the Mount was always a top 3, 4, 5 in the league type of program. So can we get to being that in the MAAC? It's going to be a challenge, but we'll see.
Okay, so non-conference schedule's done. 4 games, 2-2 in the MAAC. Where is the Mount right now? About what you thought? Maybe a little better, maybe a little worse. What are you feeling?
I think the Mount could be a little bit better, and I don't mean that as far as like underachieving. I just mean that the Mount has played a lot of close games that they've lost, and they've won 6 games, and 5 of the 6 games they had a lead of 20 points or more.
Yep.
And really the Mount played pretty well, especially against 2 of the 4 big boys that we played. It wasn't a great game for the Mount against Maryland or Georgetown this year. It wasn't like a disaster though, but it you kind of left that feeling they could have played better or done better, been a much closer game. But the Ole Miss game and then the Georgia game that the Mount played, they were both very, very impressive performances for Mount St. Mary's. And now, that's just the tough thing. They're a few possessions away from having a great start to the year. And but in one way, losing a lot of close games early maybe has put them out a little bit under the radar. If you're going to put a bow on it per se, or a positive spin in that nature. And the Mount's right now 6-9 overall. They could easily have 8 or 9 wins. And Mount St. Mary's is always going to play a harder non-conference schedule than the majority of MAAC schools. They're going to play more high majors so it's going to be hard for the Mount to rack up a 10-2 record, let's say, that kind of thing, because you're playing 3 or 4 high majors. So altogether, the team itself is an exciting team because it's really a mix of some very talented young players and then some really, really strong on and off the court veteran players. So it's a good mix of young and old.
Yep, and Iona fans, of course, we all know about Dakota LeFew, just a very exciting, dynamic player. But yeah, you've got a couple of exciting freshmen. Tell us about some of those guys.
Yes, and for LeFew, I kind of feel like he might be the kind of great story that we're losing a little bit in the MAAC, if that makes sense, because of all this transferring. Meaning, LeFew, they were so excited when he came to the Mount as a freshman, but he broke his hand early in his freshman year, so he really did not do much. He's a quiet kid, so it really took him a long time as a sophomore to get going, and had a disappointing sophomore campaign. So you saw Josh Reeves, who's the same year as Dakota. Reeves was a much bigger force for the Mount in their first 2 years, with the program. The Mount went to the NCAA tournament in Dakota's freshman year. He was already injured at that point, and Reeves was the starter. So to see the maturation of Dakota into the leader that he's becoming this year, it's really, really been fun to see. It's what college athletics is all about, at the highest level, about the growth of young men. I mean, we've seen him come from, kind of a timid young person and now he's really a leader. It's awesome to see. But as far as the young players are considered, the Mount's got an exciting freshman class. Dallas Hobbs is an explosive point guard. He's been kind of thrown into the limelight because Xavier Lipscomb broke his foot 2 games into the season, who was going to be the starting point guard for the Mount this season. But Hobbs has got a great first step, and I think he might be the X factor for this team, Guy. What I mean is, if Hobbs can, take another step or two forward in his maturation, calming the turnovers down, more assists, being a better floor general. He's scoring the ball right now, making even more of his free throws. You know what I'm saying? If he takes that next step, that could be the piece that can really take them out forward. And then Deshae Montgomery is probably, one of the most talented freshmen in the league, and a very unique story about a guy that didn't play basketball until he was 9th grade. And I'm so excited to see what's going to happen for him in the next few weeks, because to be honest, these 2 games this past weekend, Friday against Canisius, Sunday against St. Peter's, were both 2 of his toughest games of the year. So it's going to happen. These guys are freshmen, and they're going to have some inconsistency. And it's going to be really, really interesting to see how Montgomery bounces back.
Okay. So I spent the better part of this episode venting about the Gales a bit. Fan base is frustrated. Tobin is frustrated.
Sure.
Everyone in New Rochelle's frustrated. As an outsider, what's your take of what you've seen of the Iona program? And, basically, look, Rick Pitino leaves, takes the entire roster with him, or at least out the door with him. Tobin's building everything from scratch. Now, as an outsider, how do you view what happened during the offseason Iona, and then what's transpired thus far this year?
It's kind of a bizarre situation, even for Tobin. I mean, this has come really fast. If you step back a little bit, FDU didn't win the NEC last year, right? And
right.
FDU was not this dominant NEC program in a league that had really struggled. It's just amazing the creativity of the game plan, how they approached that Purdue game. I mean, it was unbelievable to watch. And being a longtime NEC guy, I was thrilled for FDU. And but it's wild, because Tobin Anderson, obviously, I mean, this ascent to Iona has come very quickly. 3 weeks earlier, FDU was kind of a middle of the pack NEC team, and the thought of Tobin Anderson, going to another level, or them beating a 1 seed, it was just beyond. It was just unbelievable. The NEC had never won a game to go to the round of 32. I think they were probably the last automatic qualifier league to actually have a team, pull off an upset. It's just incredible. So, and then he's got to rebuild the whole roster. It's just tricky. I mean, there's a lot of teams that are doing this on the fly in college basketball, but it's going to take time to come together. But Iona has resources and opportunities that the majority of teams in the MAAC do not. And usually over the long period of time, that's gonna show. I mean, for instance, Iona obviously is bringing St. Francis, PA, in, right, to play a game, and the Mount is playing them in a home and home. So it is a little bit of a different, of a different world, and the Mount's obviously trying to compete with Iona. So it's going to be interesting. It's an opportunity for everybody else in the MAAC, because I wouldn't expect Iona or Siena to be in this position for that long. And Iona, I think, has a real chance to get out of this position even this year, obviously. But the reality is that's what is making this MAAC season so crazy, right? And such an opportunity for so many other programs to try to make this that special year.
So one thing that Iona's struggle with, and you talked about this for the Mount, is struggling in those close games. I have to double check, but I feel like Iona is, I want to say, 0-5 this year in games decided by six points or less.
Right.
This feels like it could be one of those kind of games. And
Sure.
when you worry about, as what we're seeing with Iona right now, is when you have a game like that, usually the team that seems to survive is the one that has the best player on the floor. In this game, Mount would have the best player on the floor. If Mount goes on to lose this game at Iona, in your mind, why did they lose?
Yeah, if the Mount loses this game, I mean, the turnovers are what is really hampering Mount St. Mary's right now. The team is shooting from 2-point range at a prolific rate. Mount St. Mary's is shooting right around 50% from the field. It feels like almost every game. That used to be an aberration when the Mount would have a game where you're like, oh my God, we shot 52% from the floor. I mean, it feels like it's almost every game, even against St. Peter's in a game that felt like the Mount struggled offensively for the whole game. And you look in at the end of the game and they shot 48%, Yeah. But they had 20 turnovers, 20. And that's the key. If the Mount, especially with this young team, if they can start, they blew out LIU, the Mount did, and LIU is obviously a struggling program right now, but you have 9 turnovers and you win the game by 30 points. So I think that for Mount St. Mary's, that's going to be an enormous thing because they've struggled against pressing teams. That's obviously what Iona is. And Mount St. Mary's, the thing that's different about the Mount this year than last, though, is that Mount St. Mary's has players that can really take the ball to the basket. And when you're playing a pressing team, you're going to get chances where you're 3-on-3, 3-on-2 into the front court. And Mount St. Mary's can make you pay in ways that they did not last year. So that's a benefit, but it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I would expect it to be a little bit of a higher scoring game, a high possession type game. The thing that the Mount has done well this year that most people don't talk about Mount St. Mary's is that Coach Ingolstadt really is a great half-court defensive coach, and they guard the 3 ball well. So that's the thing that would be the other side of the coin. I know that Iona relies a lot on the 3 ball, and the Mount has been a team that defends it well. So we'll see which one stands tall, right? Because obviously. Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting matchup.
Absolutely, and it just feels like every game you can throw out some numbers and you realize that there's a contrast in the style, and then you just feel like there's going to be as the teams start to settle in, you're going to see a lot of close games, and this feels like one of them coming up. And I could say Iona might need this game more than the Mount does.
Sure, especially being a home game. Right now, like last year, the Mount had a weird year, so that's another aspect of this all. This is my 12th year calling the Mount. Man, last year was the only time where we lost major pieces. Every basketball team is going to have your top 3 or 4 guys. And Mount St. Mary's, for the majority of conference play last year, was missing 2 of their top 3 players. It wasn't always the same, too. But the team looked so good in the December stretch, and then they lost 9 out of 11 here in this time of the year before they got healthy, and then finished strong. So I think that this is going to be a great test. I can't wait to see how the Mount fares here, over the next month or so. But last year they went 3-7 at home. Mount St. Mary's is going to be a tough travel partner, if that makes sense, for all these teams in the league. And so the Mount also has a great fan base. So when you're coming into Knott Arena, there's going to be 2,025. It's very similar to Iona, kind of a smaller place that's usually full and loud. So I think that that's going to be big. Last year, the Mount went 3-7 in their 10 home games, and they're already 2-0 this year. So can the Mount go 8-2 at home and then win 3 or 4 on the road? That I think would be a solid season for them if you kind of play things out. But that's the thing. Iona's already lost a few home games here.
Yep. And
especially this game on Sunday in dramatic fashion. The Marist game was also right down to the wire.
Yep.
So it's a needed game for the Gales because it's not going to be easy to win on the road in this league.
Yeah, you can't give away the home games, and they've already given away a couple. So, well, Adam, thank you very much for taking the time to appear on the podcast. I've been looking forward to this because I know your energy and your passion for not just Mount but the MAAC in general. So it's great to have you on and joining us for the first time here on this podcast. So thank you again for joining, and we'll be seeing you in New Rochelle.
Sounds good. Really appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you here shortly.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Thanks again to Adam Pohl for joining us here on the pod. Ledge life is in full effect. And honestly, it feels like the season is starting to teeter here a little bit. I said this a couple episodes back. I'm going to say it again now. I still believe. Do you? Go Gales.
Thank you for listening to this edition of the IonaHoops.com podcast. This podcast is a production of IonaHoops.com and its publisher Guy Filatico. The opinions shared during this podcast are those of Guy Filatico, IonaHoops.com, and any featured guests. This podcast is not affiliated with Iona University Athletics or the university itself. Thank you for supporting IonaHoops.com.